We're embracing these post-play discussions because you tell us that's what you need. And in a city like this, where discussions can tend to be controversial, I am very happy to host them and be here performing my function as Utah's solitary Welshman. JT, welcome back.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
You said to me yesterday it's been 3 years, and yet it seems as if you just stepped off the plane back into the routine.
It does. I got off the plane and already I was twitching for red iguana the moment I stepped on. Yeah, it does. It does feel like I was just walking to the theater, and I felt like I should go, start handing out new pages to people and start rehearsing.
Right. Okay. Well, we look forward to that. Let it happen. Last time I saw you was 2 years ago. In fact, in the National Theatre, and you were talking to Craig Keane, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it was a pre-play discussion.
Yes.
And I was so relieved because I didn't have to say anything.
Yeah.
It makes a huge difference. This play's been on a mighty journey. You and I know it well. We had a special session at John Terry Becker's last night, and you said something of that journey. I don't want to make you go through it all, but can you let people know, let our audience know?
So the play was developed here at SLAC, and it was written because we applied together for a grant, playwriting fellowship, and / support of the theater that's supporting the playwright grant from the NEA. And they're very, very hard to get. And the theater, to their credit, was convinced we could get one. I was convinced we wouldn't, but we would do it. We applied together, and much to my shock and delight / fear, we got it. And it was delight because it came with a hefty check, and it was a remarkable, career advancement. And the terror came from the fact that now I had to write the play. And that was very nerve-wracking because I'd been putting off writing a play set against the genocide for years because I was so nervous about how I would approach it, how I could pull it off or not pull it off. And so we developed the play here. And when it was done in London, it was taken as a political play. When it was done in New York, it was a family drama. And that's the difference between American and British, New York.
And as a playwright, what do you just? Okay, that's the way it is.
I just cash the check. Yeah, it is. It is what it is. What it is, So yeah, I am endlessly fascinated by how the context of where a play and how a play is done completely affects what the play is. The play that you all saw today is a totally different play than the play that was seen in New York. It's the same words, it's the same general theatrical approach, with Kevin's vision versus Max's vision, and both of them being passionate to play, and my great pleasure that they did both. Men directed it, but the audience, what people bring, all these intangibles transform it, which is what's so marvelous about theater, except when it sucks, and that's the worst.
I think you were thinking of Linda. I thought Jack was not so dense, but Linda, especially when Masoka was giving her the Hutu propaganda, even if she didn't know anything, she must have been able to see that was slanted. And then she repeats it to later on in another scene, and that seemed to me to be dense.
You could be, but again, I don't. Have you traveled a lot in the third world?
No.
It's always a little cheap when the author defends and says, "Oh, well, I know something you don't know." See, it's actually perfect. If you haven't traveled in the third world, especially as an American, as a Westerner, it's extraordinarily discombobulated. I was just in Cairo for 2 weeks, doing research and interviews for a new play I'm working on for the National. And when I was in Rwanda as well, and this is after I'd lived as a child a number of years in Southeast Asia and had traveled a lot, and show up in Rwanda being an expert, and I was just completely. Immediately you start going, well, wait a minute, do I believe this person? I'm very confused. Now, I thought I knew, and that makes sense, but here it doesn't make sense. And I was trying to capture some of that, and again, perhaps poorly. But I wanted to try to convey the sense that nothing is what it seems at all. And the fact that it is, Victor was talking on the radio about this when we did the show with Doug Fabrizio, and I thought he spoke very well, and he said, nothing I'm saying from my point of view is bad and wrong. It's actually what I believe, and I really do think I'm trying to save my people and risk my life. But it comes down to the issue of everybody wanting to claim the victim mantle.
Last one.
I'm interested in the fact that it played as a family drama in New York. He said, but it's not all just Osage County, clearly.
Right.
And it was edgy in New York in a way. The first act, jumpy, very something's happened, almost like gang war, like Leonard Bernstein. I mean,
right. Well, it was going to be a musical, but I just couldn't get the rights.
You know what I mean? Like
yes.
The pace of it was very different from this. This built, but that jumped constantly. I just wondered if you could talk about that.
Yeah, well, when I say it played as a family drama, I mean that seemed to be the response of the audience, because that's what New York theater audiences want to see, for better or worse. And so it wasn't that it was, is that sort of, talking about ephemeral changes and differences, it wasn't that the play was different. In fact, the production in London and New York were extraordinarily similar, because it was the same director, and I was there, and the same set, and the same sound design. So very much, overlap. But it was a sense that you could tell that people, it's like, you can watch an audience, and you can see which thread they're going to follow into a play, if it's a play with multiple threads. And in London, the thread was, these are interesting ideas, where are we going to go with this? And then they get walloped with the emotional stuff. And in New York, it was, look at this family, that young guy's got a great set of pecs, where are we going to go with this? And then they get walloped, As long as I get to wallop them, I'm okay. So that's what I meant by that. That makes sense. And in terms of the other, that's the great thing about the theater is each time it's a reinvention and different. And Kevin has a vision of the play, and he brought his vision of the play. Max had a vision, and a play is often very much affected if the playwright is there. And when we were doing it in London, we were early on in rehearsal. We were working the scene that ends the first act, where Linda picks up the phone. And in the stage directions, I'd put, nobody moves. Someone takes a step, nobody moves. And he was plowing through that, ignoring that. And I said, no, Max, I really want them to do that. And he's like, why? I said, can we just try that? And we did it. And he goes, it's a thriller. And so, constantly in rehearsal, you're like, no, we have to pick up the pace because it's a thriller, everyone. She doesn't want to bore us. I was the whipping boy, as you can see. So, that infused the whole production. So that just it came out of what we were doing in the room together.
All right. Thank you, JT. Thank you for being
Thank you.
Thank you all, and please come back if you feel inclined to continue this conversation next week with Howard Lehman and Leonard Hawke. I try and keep it. Yes, next Sunday. Sorry, yes.